Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Friday, April 14th, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pickdawgz Premium. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Friday in Major League Baseball. First up, we see the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Miami Marlins. We're going to see Trevor Rogers and Madison Bumgarner as the projected starters. I do think Trevor Rogers has the higher ceiling in terms of these two starting pitchers. And although both of these guys struggled in their first two starts of the season, I think Rogers had really a bad matchup against the New York Mets, a team that's really patient, takes a lot of walks, doesn't really strike out much. Rogers struggled with his control in both of those outings. But now you're facing an Arizona Diamondbacks team that, although is hitting pretty well against lefties overall, is dead last in the league in walk percentage against those lefties. Only 4.1% of their at-bats end in a walk against southpaws. So I do think that this sets up to be a pretty solid start for Trevor Rogers, a bounce-back outing, if you will. On the other side, Madison Bumgarner, who's also struggling, worse than Trevor Rogers with that ERA at 7.27. He's facing a Marlins team that, is not a very good offensive team in general, but is actually doing pretty well against lefties overall. Even though some of their batters are, Luis Ariz and Jazz Chisholm hit from the left side. Most of this lineup for the Miami Marlins is right-handed heavy. So the Marlins are 14th in isolated power and 10th in team OPS against left-handed pitching. I think they're going to be able to get to Madison Bumgarner for a few runs early. And I think with the Marlins at home getting a pretty good price here, I like their chances to grab a win for us. So give me the Miami Marlins. I'm going to take them on the money line. Next up, we see the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Cincinnati Reds. We're going to see Taijuan Walker and Connor Overton as the projected starters. I do think in this series, the Phillies already have a pretty big advantage in their lineup and their bullpen, but I also like their chances in the starting pitching matchup in this one. Connor Overton, somebody that I'm not really looking to back very often this season. He's already struggling this year with that 10.13 ERA, giving up home runs and walks in bunches, and the strikeout numbers have actually been pretty good for Overton, but giving up a lot of base runners, and he already faced this Phillies lineup. He struggled against the Phillies in his first start, 4 innings, 6 base hits, 4 earned runs, and a homer in that game, 3 walks to go with it. Taijuan Walker has not been that very sharp either. He's had some issues with his control, but I do think he is the better pitcher in this matchup, and I think he's going to go on to have the better season, that's for sure. Walker, although his control was off in his last start against Cincinnati, he did have 5 strikeouts in 4 2/3 innings and held the Reds to only 2 earned runs in that game in those 4 2/3. So it's just a tough place to pitch at Great American Ballpark, but I do think Walker is the better option. The Phillies have the much better bullpen and lineup to go with it. So give me the Philadelphia Phillies. I think they're big favorites on the road for good reason. I'm going to lay the 1.5 runs with Philadelphia. Next up, we see the San Francisco Giants taking on the Detroit Tigers. No official starter for the Tigers right now, so there is no official lineup for this game, but it looks like Sean Manaea will be going for San Francisco. And the Tigers offensively against left-handed pitching have not been very good to start the season. When you look at the isolated power numbers, Detroit's ranked 26th in the league and dead last in baseball in team OPS against lefties. They're also owning the second highest strikeout rate, 33.3% against left-handers to start the year. Bottom 10 in walk rate to go with it. Just not good numbers. And Sean Manaea, although his ERA was at 4.5 after his first 2 starts of the season, his last outing against the Kansas City Royals was razor sharp. 6 innings with 8 strikeouts, only 1 earned run, only 1 walk in that game. And that was at a pitcher-friendly park at Oracle Park, but I still think against the Tigers, team is just really struggling offensively. Manaea can put together another good outing in this one. Now, I am seeing Joey Wentz listed on ESPN as a starter for the Tigers. He could very well be the option that goes on the mound here for Detroit, and I don't really like that option if he is indeed the starter, as Wentz has struggled in his first 7 innings of the season, giving up 8 earned runs, only 3 strikeouts, 5 walks to go with it, and a home run. I think the Giants could get to him for a few early, and I think Manaea puts together a strong outing again. So give me the San Francisco Giants. I'm going to take them on the money line here and lay a little bit on the run line as well. Next up, we see the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Washington Nationals. We're going to see Cal Quantrill and Trevor Williams on the mound in this one. Now, although I think the Guardians have the much better lineup and bullpen in this series, it's tough to lay this kind of price. Right now, it's at minus 155 on the money line with Cal Quantrill, who's really struggling to start his season. Obviously, he was really sharp last year, and he was a money-making machine last year, but in his first 2 starts of the season this year, 9 2/3 innings, giving up 15 base hits, 7 earned runs, a home run, 3 walks, and only 6 strikeouts to go with it. The Washington Nationals with Trevor Williams, Trevor Williams is not a starter I back very often, but his last start against the Rockies at Coors Field, the 5 1/3 innings, only 2 earned runs, no home runs allowed, no walks allowed, and 4 strikeouts. Pretty good stuff for Trevor Williams. I think he's going to be able to give the Nationals some good innings in this game as well. I think the Guardians, we know the Guardians are a very rally team. They find wins late. They trust their bullpen, and they can score, and they're very good in extra inning type games. But I think we could see the Nationals take the lead or at least cover the spread as getting a half a run in the first 5 in the beginning of this one. And I could see the Guardians getting to the Nationals bullpen late and winning this one in the end. But give me the half a run here with the Washington Nationals in the first 5. That's where I see the value lying the most in a game like this. Next up, we see the New York Yankees hosting the Minnesota Twins. Tyler Mahle and Nestor Cortes are your starters in this one. I'm going to take a shot here with the underdog getting plus money with the Minnesota Twins. We're getting a really good price because Nestor Cortes is on the other side for the Yankees. But Nestor Cortes' strikeout rate is down. His chase rate is down to start the season. Also, his expected batting average and expected slugging. I know it's only 2 starts, pretty small sample size, but the Minnesota Twins are a team that have a lot of righties in their lineup, and although they're not off to a great start against lefties quite yet, I do think as the season continues, this is going to be a team you don't really want to have a lefty on the mound against. And Tyler Mahle, although he struggled in his last start against the Houston Astros, his ground ball percentage is way up this season, and he hit that 4.09 ERA, but a 2.48 xFIP. 2.77 FIP as well. His strikeout numbers are good, and he's limiting the free passes, which is something that Mahle's had issues with in his career, but he's not really walking those batters this season, which is good to see. I think he gives the Twins a shot in this game, and I really like the price we're getting with Minnesota, so give me the Minnesota Twins here on the money line, getting that plus money. Next up, we see the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. We're going to see Jose Barrios and Drew Rasmussen as the starters in this one. Barrios has struggled in his first 2 starts of the year, that's for sure. Gave up 8 earned runs against the Royals in his first outing, 4 earned runs and 6 total runs against the Angels in his next start. But his strikeout numbers have actually been pretty good, and the big thing for me is both of those games for Barrios were on the road. Now he pitches his first game at home in the new Rogers Center, and this was a spot last year where last year on the road, 6.36 ERA in 80 2/3 innings. But last year at home, 4.24 ERA, so much better numbers in 91 in the 3rd innings with 89 strikeouts and a 273 opponent's batting average. I do think Barrios is going to pitch pretty well in this spot at home, and I do think Drew Rasmussen's been one of the best starters to start the season. He's 2-0 with that 0.00 ERA, has yet to give up an earned run with 15 strikeouts, 13 innings of work. Now, he faced some weak lineups in the Nationals and Oakland A's, but still no walks allowed, only 3 base hits allowed, no home runs allowed, obviously. He has just been razor sharp. So for me, I'm going to take the under in this one between the Rays and Blue Jays. I think this total set just a little bit too high because of both of these lineups looking pretty strong and because of Barrios' struggles. I think we have some value on the under. So give me the under 8.5. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Boston Red Sox. Patrick Sandoval and Tanner Houck are your projected starters. Now, it's a small sample size, but I do have my regression concerns in Patrick Sandoval's game, as although he's at that 1.64 ERA this year and last year put together a strong campaign with a 2.91 ERA, he still currently has a 5.02 expected ERA, 4.99 xFIP, and a lot of that stems from the fact that he's not really missing a lot of bats. He only has 3.27 Ks per 9 in his first 11 innings of work. Obviously, like I said, small sample size, but a 194 BABIP. The league average is around 300, so we can expect that the opposition is going to get a lot more base hits against Sandoval going forward. And I do think at Fenway Park, this is going to be a tough spot for Sandoval. I think the Red Sox could get to him for a few runs, and I also think Tanner Houck's got good strikeout stuff. He may not keep the runs off the board all the time, and we saw that in his first outing against the Orioles, but last start against the Tigers, 5 innings, 2 earned runs, 4 strikeouts. He gave the Red Sox a shot, and their offense took care of the rest in a 14-5 victory. It's at Fenway Park here. I like the Red Sox chances. Give me the Boston Red Sox on the money line. Next up, we see the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Chicago White Sox. We're going to see Tyler Wells and Mike Clevenger as your starters in this one. Now, Mike Clevenger pitched really well in his first start of the season, but then we saw the Clevenger from last year in his next start against the Pirates as he went 5 1/3, 8 base hits, 4 earned runs, and only 1 strikeout, 2 walks to go with it. Clevenger's strikeout numbers last year went way down, and I'm really concerned with that last outing against the Pirates. The Orioles are a very tough lineup to face, and the White Sox bullpen has not been very good this season, so I do think the Orioles could have a good day offensively in this one. Tyler Wells, I do think he's a solid starting pitcher. Doesn't really earn a ton of strikeouts, but his last outing against the Yankees, he was able to miss 6 bats in 6 innings, so pretty good stuff there, although he gave up the 2 home runs. I think the Orioles have the better bullpen. The lineups are pretty much even right now, in my opinion, but I'm going to take the Orioles here at a pretty good price on the road. I just don't trust Clevenger in a spot like this. Next up, we see the Atlanta Braves taking on the Kansas City Royals. Charlie Morton and Brady Singer on the mound in this one. Now, last year, we saw Charlie Morton really struggle away from home. He had an ERA above 5 in his road innings last season, and we saw this year, so far in his first 2 starts, 1 start at home, 1 start on the road. He fared a lot better in his first start at home at Truist Park, but his road start against the St. Louis Cardinals, 5 1/3 innings, 9 base hits, 3 earned runs, only 1 strikeout in that game. Now, luckily for him, his offense backed him up in that Cardinals game. The Braves won that game 8-4. I wouldn't be surprised to see a similar score line in this one, as I think the Braves are going to be able to get to Brady Singer as well. Singer looked pretty good in his first outing, but his control was a little bit off. Then in his next start against the San Francisco Giants, the control was really off. He gave up 5 earned runs, 8 base hits, a home run. He had 4 strikeouts, but only in 6 innings of work. That's below strikeout per inning. Not what you want to see for a guy like Singer, who I would expect, I consider a strikeout-dependent pitcher. At a pretty hitter-friendly ballpark with the Royals bullpen that's got an ERA above 5. I think we're going to see some scoring in this one, so give me the over in the Braves and Royals. Next up, we see the Houston Astros taking on the Texas Rangers. We're going to see Martin Perez and Luis Garcia as your starters. Now, the Houston Astros have been very good against left-handed pitching this season. That was the case last year as well. This season, they're 6th in the league in team OPS, 2nd in baseball in isolated power, and they only have a 9.9% strikeout rate against lefties in 111 plate appearances. That's really impressive. The second lowest strikeout rate is the Washington Nationals at 14.8%. So almost 5% difference between 29th and 30th in the lowest strikeout rates. Really, good stuff there. And Martin Perez is he doesn't really earn a lot of strikeouts to begin with, so we're going to see the Astros put the ball in play almost every at-bat in this game. Now, last year against the Houston Astros, Martin Perez had mixed results. He faced them a ton of innings, 33 innings of work, 31 base hits, and 9 walks, so a lot of base runners, but only 14 earned runs, so 3.82 ERA, not too shabby. I do think the Astros will get to him, though, for a few in this game early on. I don't think he's been as sharp this season to start this year as he was last year. Luis Garcia, he is really struggling with the new pitch clock rules, in my opinion. I think this is a starter that a lot of people have their concerns with because he's one of the slower starting pitchers in baseball in between pitches. And right now, in 9 innings of work, he's given up 7 earned runs and 2 homers. The Rangers are hitting right into pitching pretty well, so I think we're going to see some scoring in this one. Give me the over in the Astros and Rangers. Next up, it's the Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. Johan Oviedo and Jake Woodford are your starters in this one. I think the Pirates have a chance to compete in this game. They've been a pretty competitive team so far in 2023. Johan Oviedo facing his former team in this one. He was a Cardinal at the beginning of last year. He was moved to the Pirates in the middle of the season. And, he actually faced the Cardinals for 10 innings last year, had a 3.6 ERA, and actually pitched pretty well in those innings. So I could see Oviedo pitching well in this spot. Had a nice start in his last game after he struggled in his first start at Fenway Park. He went 6 2/3 innings against the White Sox with 5 strikeouts, no earned runs, no walks, and no home runs. So, at a pitcher-friendly ballpark, I think Oviedo can put together a quality start in this one. Jake Woodford hasn't been very good to start the season, so I think there's value on the Pirates here. Woodford was 0-2 with a 9.00 ERA. He gave up 9 earned runs in his first 9 innings of work this season, 4 home runs to go with it. So, Cardinals returning from Coors Field. They had 1 game on Thursday. Now, this will be their second one back. I do think their bats could struggle against Oviedo and leave the door open for the Pirates to cover the run line. So, give me the 1.5 runs here with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Next up, it's the New York Mets taking on the Oakland Athletics. We're going to see Kodai Senga and James Kaprielian on the mound in this one. James Kaprielian, is tough to back him in a game like this. He is really struggling so far this year. 12 earned runs, 4 home runs in his first 9 2/3 innings. His strikeout stuff hasn't been that bad, but now you're facing a Mets team that doesn't strike out much against right-handed pitching. So to me, this sets up to be a disaster outing for the Oakland A's pitchers. And Kodai Senga, although I could certainly see him regressing as the season continues. His control has been a little bit off. He's had 6 walks in his first 2 starts, and he faced the pretty weak lineup in the Miami Marlins. I still think he's the much better option here. I think the Mets have the much better bullpen and lineup to go with it. So we'll lean towards the over, but I'm also going to take the New York Mets here and lay the run line -1.5. Next up, we see the Milwaukee Brewers and the San Diego Padres. No official starter for the Brewers right now, so there is no official lineout for this game, but we should see Michael Wacha going for the Padres. Back in 2020, when Wacha signed a deal with the New York Mets, he struggled in that season with a 6.62 ERA. Then he went to the Tampa Bay Rays, a team that's known for bringing in veteran starters and usually can put together, good seasons for him, but he struggled with Tampa Bay as well, 5.05. But then he went to the Boston Red Sox last year. Not an easy place to pitch. Red Sox traditionally last few seasons, not really good pitching staff. Already play at Fenway Park, one of the more hitter-friendly parks. But Waka put together a really good campaign, a 3.32 ERA in 127 innings of work, and now his first 2 starts with the San Diego Padres, he's 2-0 with a 3.00 ERA, 12 innings of work. He's a guy that's not going to really blow you away with his strikeout stuff, but he keeps the ball on the ground and he limits sharp contact. I think he puts together a good outing in this one. I think the Padres can get to the Milwaukee Brewers pitching staff. We'll have to see who the official starter is for Milwaukee, but other than Devin Williams, I don't really trust that bullpen, so I could see San Diego scoring runs late in this one as well. Give me the San Diego Padres on the money line. Next up is the Chicago Cubs taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Justin Steele and Noah Syndergaard are your starters in this one. Now, when I saw this game on the surface and I saw the starting pitching matchup, I said to myself, the Cubs will probably compete in this game. I think Justin Steele is a pretty good pitcher compared to Noah Syndergaard. I think the Cubs can, cover the 1.5 runs on the run line. But then I took a little bit of a deeper look into this game, and I see, Justin Steele has had issues with his control in seasons past. We saw it last year, and we're seeing it in his last start against the Rangers, where he walked 4 batters in 6 innings of work, and he only had 3 strikeouts. Now he's facing the Los Angeles Dodgers, a very tough lineup. He's pitching against them on the road, and the Dodgers, beyond their 4th-ranked isolated power and 9th-ranked team OPS against lefties, the Dodgers do a great job at limiting strikeouts against those southpaws, and they're also number 1 in baseball in walk percentage by 7.5% over the next team in the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Dodgers are right now earning a 20% walk percentage against left-handed pitching. There's no doubt that that's not going to be sustainable for a full season. It's going to decrease as the season continues, but it is still pretty concerning with Justin Steele being a guy who's had issues with giving up a lot of walks. We know the Dodgers play so well at home, and last year they were really good on the run line as favorites. So to me, I think the Dodgers can get to Steele, and really this could be a tough spot for Steele to be in. I think his pitch count goes up early. He can have issues with the free passes, and the Dodgers will take advantage of it. And then even if this is a closer game late, I think the Cubs bullpen on the road, not really the most trustworthy. So give me the Los Angeles Dodgers here. I'm going to lay the 1.5 runs. I also lean towards the over in this game because Noah Syndergaard's not my favorite option on the mound. Next up, we see the Seattle Mariners and the Colorado Rockies. This is the final game for the night for Friday's card. We're going to see Austin Gomber and Marco Gonzalez on the mound, 2 lefties in this matchup, and 2 lefties that are certainly struggling, have struggled for a few years now, and 2 guys that aren't necessarily the first 2 guys I think of when I think of a low-scoring under in Major League Baseball, but crazy enough, I actually do like the under in this game. I think this pitching matchup actually sets up to be a low-scoring one. When we see both of these teams, the Colorado Rockies, we know offensively do not do anywhere near as good on the road as they do at home. The altitude difference has a big part in that. And even this season, overall, their numbers home and on the road combined against lefties have not been very good. They're 19th in the league right now in team OPS, and they're 23rd in baseball in isolated power. Their strikeout rate is also in the top 10 for the highest strikeout rates against lefties. So, Marco Gonzalez pitching at T-Mobile Park, which is a very pitcher-friendly ballpark, I think this sets up to be a good start for him. On the other side, Austin Gomber is someone that's got a 6.75 ERA, but a 4.89 xFIP, which is a lot better. Pitching at the same pitcher-friendly ballpark against the Mariners team that's also struggling against lefties. They have a 32.6% strikeout rate, 3rd highest in baseball. Their team OPS is ranked 27th in the league against those lefties, and the isolated power numbers are a little bit better, but not enough for me to really have too much faith in the Mariners offensively here. I do think, the good thing for me with Gomber is the fact that he's lowering the walk rate. Last year 2.45 actually wasn't that bad to begin with, but 3.2 and 4.66 walks per 9 in the previous seasons. This year only 1.69 in his first 10 2/3 innings. 3.5 expected ERA for Gomber. I think he's going to be able to do enough here. The Rockies bullpen isn't my favorite, that's for sure, but the Mariners bullpen's pretty solid. I don't think the Rockies do much of anything offensively in this game, so I think as long as Gomber doesn't explode in the mound, we're going to have a good shot at cashing this under. So give me the under here in the Mariners-Rockies. And that's it. Those are the games for Friday in Major League Baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe, and don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.